one, but I thought this was interesting. Okay. And I want to get your all's take on it too. This is called the Draft IQ cheat sheet. Now, it may be a little hard for you guys to read here. I'm going to try to zoom in as much as I can. Okay. And here's what Next Gen Stats is powered by Next Gen Stats. It's over NFL.com. This was really interesting to me. So the way they've got it set up is they've got each team where they're picking, right, in order. Titans, Browns, it's from left to right and then working from top to bottom. Titans, Browns, Giants, Patriots, Jaguars, everybody in order. And what they did was they put, and it says pick the player you think each team will draft based on Mike Van's projected big boards. So they did a projection of a short list of a big board at each of these picks that they think these teams would be interested in. All right. So with this specific mock draft here, and again, I know it's not technically a mock draft, but it kind of is. We're going to walk through the first round real quick. So with the Titans, they got 3 players they think they would be interested in taking here. And can you guys see this? Make sure, let me know in the chat if you can see this, okay? I want to make sure you can read these names. If you can't, I can go full screen. Actually, matter of fact, let's just go full screen and make it a little easier. So with the Titans, it's Cam Ward, Abdul Carter, and Travis Hunter. I think they're going to go Cam Ward, so let's go ahead and make that selection. Now, notice here with the Browns, they've got Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, and Shedeur Sanders. So when we take Cam Ward now is off the list for the Browns. See? So now it updates their mini big board in going to the next pick. So now with the Browns on the clock, it's between Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, and Shedeur Sanders, okay? I don't think they're going to take Shedeur Sanders. If it were me, I would go Abdul Carter if I was Cleveland. But Travis Hunter seems to be linked to them more than any other team that I've seen here recently. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go Travis Hunter right here. So now Travis Hunter is off the short list for the Giants. So now you've got Abdul Carter, Shedeur Sanders, and Mason Graham potentially to the Giants. Now listen, the Giants met with Shedeur Sanders, had him come out and work out for him if I remember correctly. That doesn't mean they're going to take him. I think Shedeur Sanders is going to drop a little bit. So let's say it's between Abdul Carter and Mason Graham. If I were the Giants, I would go Abdul Carter here. So now Abdul Carter comes off the short list for the Patriots. So now with the Patriots on the clock at pick number 4, again, just to recap, Titans went Cam Ward, Browns went Travis Hunter, Giants went Abdul Carter. So now with the Patriots, Will Campbell, Mason Graham, Armand Membu, Jalen Walker, Josh Simmons, and Tet McMillan are the choices. Now, they just went out and got – who was the receiver they got, guys? Was it that knucklehead that was in Minnesota for a little bit? Who was the receiver that the Patriots just picked up? I'm going to take a drink here for the voice goes. Trying to think of who it was, and his name's escaping me right now. I should know it because I can still see him. He's shown his ass everywhere he went. Buffalo, then I think to Houston, and now I think he's with the Patriots. You guys, I know you guys know who I'm talking about. Anyway, I think they're probably not going to go receiver here. And Diggs, Stephon Diggs. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate you, buddy. So it's Abdul Carter, Shedeur Sanders, and Mason Graham here, right? Or I'm sorry, Will Campbell, Mason Graham, Armand Membu, Jalen Walker, Josh Simmons, Tet McMillan. I don't think they'll go Tet McMillan here. Now, who's their new head coach? Mike Vrabel, former defensive guy. He believes in the trenches big time. So not having access to my board at the moment, just looking at this, I'm going to say that he's going to go with Mason Graham, defensive tackle. Okay, it would either be him or Jalen Walker, who he's listed as a stack backer here, but everybody's saying he's going to be an edge rusher in the NFL. I just don't like him that much. He'll drop a little bit on my board. It's kind of how I see him. So we're going to go Mason Graham. Well, let me ask you guys this. Should we go offensive lineman for the Patriots? That's the question, right? Because if we go offensive lineman, they need somebody to protect, obviously, Drake May up there. So it's either between offensive lineman or defensive tackle. Which would you guys choose? I need it quick, too. First one to mention it, that's what we'll go with. Do we go O-line for the Patriots, or will we go with Mason Graham here? And we'll go quicker here in a second. I just want to get these top 5 or 6 right. United Base says, I think New England will go O-line. Soder says defensive tackle. Next one breaks the tie. Guys. O-line or D-tackle here for the Patriots. Because I can see an argument for both. All right, we'll go D-tackle there. Chase Green says D-tackle. So let's go Mason Graham for the Patriots. All right, so now he comes off the short board for the Jaguars. So now the Jaguars' top choices are Will Campbell, Ashton Gianti, Jalen Walker, Kelvin Banks, and Armand Membu. Got kind of the pick of the litter there amongst tackles, okay? We'll keep this real simple. I'm going to go, and it's interesting to think. You've got You got Mr. Duval himself, right? Who's taking over down there. Let me give him a shout out real quick. I think we can do this. I believe we can. I think we can. Let me give him a little shout out.
Duval.
All right. So offensive mind, right? Liam Cohen, right? I could see him going offensive line here. So I'm going to go Will Campbell for the Jaguars here. Okay. So we'll go Will Campbell, whether he plays tackle or guard. I think he can play tackle. That's just me personally. I know many people don't like the arm length. So the Raiders are going to choose between Ashton Gianti, Armand Membu, Shedeur Sanders, Jalen Walker, or Will Johnson here. Pete Carroll's the new head coach out there, right? Loves defense. There's only one defensive player actually two defensive players on the board here. Go Will Johnson or Jalen Walker. I'm going to go Will Johnson here with the Raiders. All right, so the Raiders are going to take Will Johnson. So now the Jets are on the clock. Armand Membu at tackle, Ty Warren at tight end, Shedeur Sanders at quarterback, Jalen Walker at linebacker, all right, or edge, I should say. So when you look at the Jets, I'm going to say that they're going to go with I don't think they'll take a quarterback. I think they like Justin Fields at least to try to give him a legit shot to do something special there. I'm going to go Jalen Walker here to continue to bolster that defensive prowess up there, which obviously they got their new defensive-minded head coach. Name's escaping me right now. I'm looking at all these names. I can't think of it. Former defensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions, right? So we'll go Jalen Walker. Carolina Panthers, Mykel Williams, Tet McMillan, Jahdae Barron, or Shamar Stewart. This is kind of tough here. I'm going to say that the Carolina Panthers are going to go Tet McMillan here. All right, they're going to try to get Bryce Young a big wide receiver target there. Okay, so now we're on to the Saints. This is where I think Shedeur Sanders could potentially go. Now, they don't pick again in the first round, but many people think they'll trade back up in the first to try to get him. So if Shedeur Sanders is going to come off the board, it may be right here. When you look at the injury concern they have with their quarterback now, with Derek Carr and that shoulder. So really what it comes down to is Shedeur Sanders, Jackson Dart, Mykel Williams, Shamar Stewart, or Ty Warren. Okay? That's a tough one. I'm going to say that the Saints are going to go Shedeur Sanders here. Okay, I'm going to say he's coming off the board right now. Next, you got Chicago, Ashton Gianti, Kelvin Banks, Ty Warren, Armand Membu, Mykel Williams, Omarion Hampton. They've been building the offensive line throughout the offseason, but many people see that and they go, okay, they're not going offensive line. They just spent a bunch of money on offensive line and free agency. Remember when the Packers spent a ton of money in free agency to get Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith and drafted Rashawn Gary as well? It means it's at the forefront of their mind. I think they're going to go offensive line here if they don't go Ashton Gianti. So I'm going to give them Armand Membu here. Breaks my heart because I think Membu's a hell of a player. Now let's move on to the 49ers. Mykel Williams, Shamar Stewart, Jahdae Barron, Mike Green, or Kenneth Grant. I think that the San Francisco 49ers are going to go – I think they'll probably go Kenneth Grant here, boys. That's what I would go with anyway. All right, now the Dallas Cowboys, Ashton Gianti, Matthew Golden, or Mykel Williams. Matthew Golden has been linked to the Packers here a lot. I could see Ashton Gianti. If I were the Cowboys in this position, I had to pick between those three players. It sounds silly, but I'm going Ashton Gianti because they've already got CeeDee Lamb. Dak Prescott's kind of, hey, look, his back's against the wall. You get him a running game as well. Ashton Gianti, to me, looks like a generational running back. That's what we're going to go there. Next, we got the Dolphins. We'll try to go a little quicker here. The Dolphins, the choices are Kelvin Banks Jr., Malachi Starks, Josh Simmons, and Nick Emenware. All right. I kind of feel like they need an offensive tackle, seeing that, their offense seemed like it took a step back in the second half of the season last year. And, Tua with the concussion issues, I could see that being the route they go. I could also see them going safety, but I'm going to go Kelvin Banks Jr. here, tackle for the Dolphins. Next, you've got the Colts. They could get the best tight end in Ty Warren, Josh Simmons tackle, Colston Loveland, or Gray Zabel. They lost their center in free agency, if I remember correctly. I'm almost positive they lost their center. Now, maybe they got another one lined up. I don't know their roster well enough. Regardless, Gray Zabel could play on the interior there as well. If they do need a center, I would definitely go Gray Zabel. So why don't I just do that let's just do it. Let's go Gray Zabel here for the Colts. I could see that being a good pick there. Falcons, Mike Green, Shamar Stewart, Michael Williams, Jahdae Barron, and Nick Emenware. What would the Falcons need here? I'm trying to think of who their coach is. I can even defensive-minded coach, right? Young coach, coach under Sean McVay. His name's escaping me right now. I could see him going defense here. Would it be Jahdae Barron or edge? Get kind of your pick of the litter at edge here. I'm going to say this is where Mike Green comes off the board. He's really high on our board. I know there's personal issues, but when you do mock drafts, you can just say, okay, we refuse to take them, right? But you don't know if teams actually are removing them from the board or not. So we'll go Mike Green here. Arizona Cardinals. Daryl, I don't know who you calling goof, bro, but chill out, man. Don't be in there insulting people, all right? Say you got put in timeout the other day. You called somebody a liar. Just chill. It's all good, man. We're all friends here. Have a good time. Take a sip. Relax, all right? There's nothing that drives me crazier than I'm about to go on a damn soapbox. Like, don't do it. Like, people are plugging into the show to relax. They're plugging into the show to hang out. They're plugging into the show to just kind of, hey, man, let's have a good time here, do a little mock draft, talk a little Packers. We don't need to be in the chat insulting each other, all right, man? Let's just act like grown-ups, okay? That's coming from the biggest kid on the face of the earth. Bramble says, bring it in. Yeah, it just drives me crazy. Like, let's just get along, people, please. Arizona people on the podcast are going, I got to go watch the YouTube show, see what was said. Arizona, Michael Williams, Jahad Campbell, or Tyler Booker. All right. With the Cardinals there, Jahad Campbell's intriguing. Tyler Booker's intriguing. Michael Williams is probably the position of more importance. Seeing that they got linebacker listed, I imagine that is a need for them. They've been known to take a hybrid linebacker. Isaiah Simmons they drafted very early, albeit I know it's a new regime and everything. It kind of just feels like that's something the Cardinals would do. Let's say Jahad Campbell goes right here. All right? Let's go Jahad Campbell. Y'all cracking me up in the chat. I got to stop looking at it. We're never going to get through this. Cincinnati Bengals, Michael Williams, Derek Harmon, Shamar Stewart, Malachi Starks, and Walter Nolan. The common theme we're seeing here over the last, 8 or 10 picks, guys, it's literally been Michael Williams and Shamar Stewart on every list. So it kind of feels like I could see a scenario where those two guys drop to the Packers at 23. I don't know if I like that, to be honest with you. But with the Bengals and Trey Hendrickson's future still up in the air, it sounds like they may still trade him. So if that's the case, let's take one of those two edge defenders there. We've got Shamar Stewart significantly higher than Michael Williams. So I'm going to say the Bengals are going to go with Shamar Stewart here. All right. Seattle Seahawks, they went and got our boy Sam Darnold. I feel like they need to protect them if it makes sense on the board. You got Tyler Booker there. Many people see him as a first-round talent. That would make sense here. Nick Emenware, safety, that would make some sense there as well. Colston Loveland tight end. Emeka Egbuka has entered the chat along with Matthew Golden here and Malachi Starks. So if you were to go with a safety here, we've got Malachi Starks higher than Nick Emenware. If you go offensive line, it would be Tyler Booker. And seeing that he's the only offensive lineman available, kind of feels like there's a short list for those. So let's go Tyler Booker here for Seattle. Next, you got Tampa Bay. Michael Williams, Jahdae Barron, Malachi Starks, and Nick Emenware. I hate to do this, but if I'm Tampa, I could see the value being so good here according to our board. Hands down, the best player available here is Jahdae Barron. So we're going to go Jahdae Barron to Tampa. Breaks my heart. I was really hoping he'd fall to the Packers. So, Denver Broncos, Ty Warren. That's still the best tight end in the draft, right, guys? Let me scroll up. Pretty sure. Ty Warren. Yeah, Ty Warren is the best in the draft. Man, that would give Bo Nix a great target. Also, Sean Payton loves his tight ends. Remember Jimmy Graham days, right? That makes all the sense in the world. We're going to go Ty Warren to the Broncos here. Next, you've got the Pittsburgh Steelers. Jackson Dart, Derek Harmon, Michael Williams, and Omarion Hampton. They need a quarterback, right? Jalen Milroe has been linked to them. They may go quarterback. They may go Jalen Milroe in the second round. I think last I heard the over-under was 2.5, and I don't know what bookie had it. But if the over-under on quarterbacks taken in the first round is 2.5, I would definitely take the over, me personally. We're already at 2 with Shedeur Sanders going earlier to the Saints. So I'm going to say Jackson Dart here to the Steelers. All right. And they get their quarterback of the future. Again, I could see them doing that in the second round with Jalen Milroe. Or who knows, man? They may take Jalen Milroe at this pick, but he's not an option here in this particular mock. Next, you got the Chargers, Colston Loveland, Matthew Golden, and Derek Harmon, defensive tackle. We know, guys, remind me where Derek Harmon played college. It's Oregon, right? So it wasn't Michigan. I was thinking, did he play for Michigan? Where did Colston Loveland play college football? That was Michigan, right? Who's the head coach with the Chargers? That's right. Jim Harbaugh, right? So I could see this being Colston Loveland here, right? So let's go Colston Loveland. Jim Harbaugh is going to get his tight end back from Michigan and Colston Loveland. I think that's a good pick for them. That also gives their franchise QB another target. So now here we are, Green Bay Packers on the clock. Here are the only two options it's given us. Chris Ian's going to love this, by the way. Did Harmon start there too? Michigan State, Clayton. Harmon started there. Okay, gotcha. So, yeah. All right. No, I was thinking of Colston Loveland at Michigan. But, yeah, I was asking because of Harmon. At first, I was like, no, it was Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham that was at Michigan. That's the reason I was asking. But, yeah, Colston Loveland obviously playing for Michigan. So the two top choices here, according to this, we can't – guys, we're not allowed to select anybody else. We got to choose between Derek Harmon and Donovan Ezaraku here, right? So when we look at those two, okay, let me put my draft board over on the other screen here real quick so I can get both of them up. Derek Harmon on our board. And by the way, I don't like these two choices. I wish we had other choices. Not that I don't like these two players. I just don't like having to choose between these two in this spot. I'd probably trade back. Although Derek Harmon's in the 25 spot, Donovan Ezaraku is in the 31 spot. Donovan Ezaraku was a captain, and he met with the Packers, and he was a Senior Bowl participant. However, he does not meet the threshold, and he was not a top 30 visit, right? Derek Harmon only meets the threshold, but that could be one of those players Goody's on. I'm going to stick to our board here and go, we're going to go Derek Harmon. He's 25th on our board. Yep, 25th on our board. And he's a few spots higher, 7 spots higher than Donovan Ezaraku, who's in the 31 spot, so 6 spots higher. So we're going to go Derek. Actually, I want the chat. You guys let me know here. Would you rather have, make sure I'm not off my rocker here, just one word, just the name. Tell me who you would rather have. If you've already topped it, please top it again for me, okay? Derek Harmon, just say Harmon or Ezaraku. Harmon or EZ, let me know here. Who would you take in this spot? Looks like we got Wes Robb says Harmon feels the bigger need. Got it. So that's his vote there. Yeah, look at Deadfish says Walter Nolan shows up on the Buffalo pick at 29. Yeah, it's a great point. Again, we do these exercises to kind of learn. All right, that's showing they're maybe going a little later, right? Eric Sutherland says Harmon. United Bates says Harmon. Rod Jen says definitely Harmon. John Smith, Harmon. Pointer Doug says Harmon. Soder says I like the Vikings list better. Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? With the next pick, it's Nick Emmanwori, Malachi Starks. I know we don't like them, but you'd have Derek Harmon, Maxwell Hairston, and Savone Revel. I don't think it'll let me pick one of those guys. If we do, it may pick them for the Vikings, you know? And they probably got it to where you can jump around. Everybody's saying Harmon here. Look, I knew Chris was going to say Ezaraku. Chris, if Ezaraku hits in this draft, guys, we will never hear the end of it from Chris Ian because he has been standing on the mountain for Ezaraku. And again, I don't think he's a bad prospect. He's just a little bit lower on our board than we like, right? So, yeah, I'm with you, though, Soder. I kind of like the Vikings choice there better. I probably still go Derek Harmon, although Savone Revel, if Savone Revel was an option for us here, he's in the 26th spot for us. Derek Harmon is 1 spot higher, so you can make a little bit of a case for Savone if he is healthy. And again, Goody knows that, we don't. But the chat has spoken. We're going to go Derek Harmon, defensive tackle. There we go. Boy, that struggled a little bit. That worried me. All right, next you get the Vikings. So the Packers, again, we take 3-tech Derek Harmon, one of the best pass rushing defensive tackles in this draft. I like it. I would be totally on board with that. Next you get the Vikings. Nick Emmanwori, Malachi Starks, Maxwell Harrison, and Savone Revel Jr. If I am them, I'm taking the best safety on my board, and that's Malachi Starks. Nick Emmanwori is a physical freak, but Malachi Starks is significantly higher. He's in the 23 spot for us. Okay. Now I want to say Greg Cosell He got a 7-point bonus, Nick Imamore did, from Greg Cosell. So he likes him better than Malachi Starks. There's no doubt. But again, Malachi Starks being higher on our board, we're going to go Malachi Starks here for the Minnesota Vikings. Group him up with their aging safety room, and maybe he can learn a couple things from that group up there that's played well for so long. Next, you got the Houston Texans. Emeka Egbuka, Josh Simmons, and Matthew Golden are the picks here. But I wish if Egbuka had been available for us there to take in this little exercise, he would have been in the 21 spot. That hands down would have been our pick, no doubt about it. So just keep that in mind. We're going with the short list that they provided based off their information. So with this pick here, who's higher, Matthew Golden or Egbuka? It's definitely Egbuka. However, Josh Simmons, I want to say, is higher than Egbuka. I could be. Nope, Josh Simmons is lower than Egbuka. So we're going to go with Emeka Egbuka to Houston. Obviously, they just lost Stephon Diggs to the Patriots. So they're going to replace him with Egbuka. I think that'd be a good pick for them. Next, you got the LA Rams. You got Matthew Golden, Maxwell Harrison, and Azare Thomas. So obviously they think they have a cornerback need there. Azare Thomas or Maxwell Harrison. I want to say Maxwell Harrison is significantly lower for us. Azare Thomas is a bit of a reach for us here as well. He's in the 65 spot. So I'm going to go Matthew Golden here for the LA Rams. So you're seeing a couple receivers come off the board here after we picked at 23. All right, up next, you got the Baltimore Ravens. Nick Imamore, safety, or Donovan Ezaraku. Nick Imamore, hands down the better player. We're going to go with him. Detroit Lions, the choices are Donovan Ezaraku, Nick Scorton, Donovan Jackson, or Maxwell Harrison. This is a good little case study here. Donovan Ezaraku is in the 31 spot for us. Nick Scorton is in the 34. Donovan Jackson, I do not know where he's even at on our list, significantly lower, obviously. And then Maxwell Harrison's lower. So this is definitely your boy, Donovan Ezaraku, here going to the Detroit Lions. I know it breaks your heart there, Chris Ann. I apologize, sir. Washington Commanders up next. You got Mykel Williams. Notice how Mykel Williams wasn't on that list, but Donovan Ezaraku was. That's interesting, right? Like, why do they have them linked there? Because, like, with Mykel Williams, let's see where Mykel was in the 20 spot. We probably would have taken Mykel over Derek Harmon. I don't know. It's close enough. Same tier, it looks like. 5-point increment tier, as we showed you guys earlier. I probably still would have went Derek Harmon there. So in this case, we're definitely going Mykel Williams for the Washington Commanders. Their defensive, great defensive mind up there in, God, what's his name? Dan Quinn gets another great player there. Buffalo Bills, they only got one choice. This is easy. Walter Nolan. Man, that makes me mad. Would love to have had the shot to get Walter Nolan. That would have definitely been our pick. We would have taken him because he's 19 on our board. You guys see, the one thing we've learned here, I'm just going to talk about this for just a second, is Walter Nolan was available on the board, and this exercise says the Packers should not have taken Walter Nolan, right? Or maybe they wouldn't have taken him. However, our board was screaming, take him. Now, remember, that's not just he's got a high grade on our board. Top 30 visit, Senior Bowl visit, played in the Senior Bowl, dominated in the Senior Bowl, meets the athletic threshold, team captain, everything across the board. Like, the closer we get to the draft, Walter Nolan's my dude, man. Like, that's the guy that, like, when we get to 23, if Walter Nolan's on the board, our board is going to scream, take Walter Nolan. It really is. Unless one of these other guys on our board that's in the gold and the spade, like Shamar Stewart. Shamar Stewart's the guy that according to the gold standard and the spade on our board would suggest, hey, this is the dude that you should take. But I think Walter Nolan is more day one ready than a Shamar Stewart who's still got to learn to rush the passer, you know? So love this exercise. This is fun. Kansas City Chiefs, Josh Simmons or Luther Burden III. After seeing Patrick Mahomes running for his life the entire time, we're going to give him Josh Simmons here during the Super Bowl, I meant. And then, of course, the Philadelphia Eagles are going to choose between Nick Scorton or Mason Taylor, tight end. That's really, really interesting because could they use another offensive weapon, seeing how bolstered up that defense is? If it comes down to Nick Scorton or Mason Taylor, Nick Scorton on our board is sitting in the 34 spot. and Mason Taylor is in the 42 spot. So we're going to go Nick Scorton here to the Eagles. I think that will be a solid pick for them. So there you go. That's how it felt. I thought that was really interesting. Hopefully you guys didn't think that was boring, but just to kind of see based off of next gen stats, right? And it's pick the player you think the team will draft based on Mike Band's projected big boards, kind of saying these are the players that make the most sense for these teams, right? So really, really, man, Margin Cron out of control. Don't look at the chat, guys. So, geez, Pete. Based off of the short boards, right, that they projected for each of these teams, here's how the first round would fall, okay, and how we would have picked based off of our board combined with that short list. Number 1 pick to the Titans, Cam Ward. Number 2 to the Browns, Travis Hunter. Number 3 to the Giants, Abdul Carter. Number 4 to the Patriots, Mason Graham. 5 to the Jaguars, Will Campbell. 6 to the Raiders, Will Johnson. 7 to the Jets, Jalen Walker. 8 to the Panthers, Tet McMillan. 9 to the Saints, Shedeur Sanders. 10 to the Bears, Armand Membu. 11 to the 49ers, Kenneth Grant. 12 to the Cowboys, Ashton Gianti. 13 to the Dolphins, Kelvin Banks. 14 Colts, Gray Zabel. 15 Falcons, Mike Green. 16 Cardinals, Jahad Campbell. 17 Bengals, Shamar Stewart. 18 Seahawks, Tyler Booker. 19 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Jahdae Barron. 20 Ty Warren to the Broncos. 21 Steelers take Jackson Dart. 22 Chargers take Colston Loveland. 23 the Packers get Derek Harmon. 24 the Vikings get Malachi Starks. 25 the Texans get Emeka Egbuka. 26 Matthew Golden goes to the Rams. 27 Nick Emenwari goes to the Ravens. 28 the Lions get Donovan Ezaraku. 29 the Commanders get Michael Williams. 30 the Bills get Walter Nolan. 31 the Chiefs get Josh Simmons. And 32 the Eagles get Nick Scorton. So very, very interesting to see how that plays out, man. So again, I think it's gonna shake out a little bit different on draft night for us, hopefully, because I think we're going to be surprised when we look at our PTA big board when we go into the draft. I think you're going to see 2 or 3 players that are going to be available that we like better than Derek Harmon. Albeit, if Derek Harmon is the pick, I would have no problem with it at all. So, there you go. All right, United Bates, you are the man, sir. I'm sorry I overlooked that. I was looking at the regular chat and didn't see it. He gifted 20 Packer Fan Total Access memberships here on YouTube. So you guys will go into the next giveaway. However, we are doing a giveaway tonight. We'll go ahead and knock that out. So obviously we don't have time to put those guys and gals on the list. But Bates, thank you so much for that dono and hooking some people up with some memberships here, man. Y'all ready to do a